Park Tae-ho woke up the same way he had woken up for the past 7 years, alone. The bed beside him was empty and cold. The house was silent. No voice called him for breakfast. No laughter filled the rooms. Just silence, heavy and endless. He was 42 years old. A farmer, a widower. A man who had stopped expecting anything good from life. His wife Yuna had died 7 years ago. A sickness took her slowly, piece by piece, until one winter morning, she simply did not wake up. They had wanted children. They had tried for years, but life had not given them that gift. And then, life had taken Yuna too. Now Tae-ho lived alone on the farm that had belonged to her family for generations. He grew vegetables. He fixed fences. He fed chickens. He talked to no one, unless he had to. The villagers called him kind but sad. They left him alone because they understood. Some grief cannot be shared. It was the year 2847. Earth was part of a great galactic community now. Alien ships flew overhead every day. Strange beings walked through the nearby spaceport town. Technology had changed everything. But Tae-ho's life remained simple. He wanted it that way. The future did not interest him. He was too busy living in the past. That night, a storm came. Tae-ho sat by his window and watched the rain fall hard on his fields. Lightning cut across the sky. Thunder shook the walls. He thought about Yuna. She had loved storms. She would stand on the porch and spread her arms wide and laugh at the rain. He could still hear her laugh sometimes, when the thunder was loud enough. Then he saw it, a light, falling from the sky. Not lightning, something else, something moving fast and bright and wrong. The light crashed into his eastern field with a sound like the world breaking open. The ground shook. The windows rattled. Then, everything went quiet. Tae-ho grabbed his coat and ran outside. The rain hit his face like tiny stones. His boots sank into mud. He ran toward the eastern field, not knowing what he would find. A meteor? Debris from a satellite? His heart pounded in his chest. What he found was a ship. It was small, barely bigger than his tractor. Silver metal, shaped like a teardrop, half buried in the mud. Smoke rose from cracks in its surface. Strange symbols glowed faintly on its side. This was not a human ship. That much was clear. Tae-ho should have called someone. The authorities. The spaceport. Anyone. That was the smart thing to do. The safe thing. Instead, he walked closer. The ship's door was open, broken, hanging from one hinge. Inside, he could see shapes. Small shapes. Not moving, he climbed into the ship. The inside was dark, except for flickering emergency lights. The air smelled like burning metal, and something sweet he could not name. And there, strapped into seats, too big for them, were 3 children. They were not human. Their skin was pale blue, like a winter sky just before dawn. Their features were delicate, almost fragile. Their hair was white and fine as spider silk. Their eyes were closed, but he could see they were large, taking up more of their faces than human eyes would. They were hurt. One had blood on her forehead, dark purple instead of red. Another had his arm bent at a wrong angle. The smallest one was barely breathing. Tae-ho did not think. He did not ask questions. He did not wonder who they were, or where they came from, or why they had crashed in his field. He only saw 3 children who needed help. One by one, he carried them out of the broken ship and through the rain and into his home. They were light, lighter than human children their size would be. Their skin was cool to the touch. They did not wake up. He laid them on beds and couches. He cleaned their wounds with water and cloth. He wrapped the boy's broken arm as best he could. He covered them with warm blankets. He did everything he could think of. Everything Yuna had taught him about caring for sick things. The storm continued outside. Inside, Tejo sat in his chair and watched the three alien children sleep in his home. He should call someone. He knew this. There were rules about things like this. Procedures. Authorities who handled alien matters. He was just a farmer. What did he know about alien children? But something stopped him. Maybe it was the way the smallest one curled up under the blanket. The way human children do when they feel safe. Maybe it was the fear on the oldest one's face, even in sleep. Maybe it was the simple fact that they were children, no matter what world they came from. Or maybe it was the silence in his house, finally broken by the sound of breathing that was not his own. He did not call anyone. Hours passed. The storm faded. Dawn came, gray and wet. Tejo had not slept. He sat and watched and waited. The oldest one woke first. She was a girl, maybe 14 in human years if such comparisons meant anything. Her large, dark eyes opened slowly. She saw the ceiling, the walls, the strange room. Fear flooded her face. Then she saw Tejo. He did not move. He did not speak. He just sat there, an old farmer in muddy clothes, watching her with tired eyes. The girl looked at him. She looked at her siblings, still sleeping, wrapped in warm blankets. She looked back at Tejo. Something changed in her eyes. The fear did not leave, but something else joined it. Something like hope. Something like relief. She opened her mouth. She spoke a word in a language Tejo did not understand. The sounds were soft and flowing, like water over stones. Then her eyes closed and she fell back asleep. Tejo sat in the silence of his home, surrounded by three children from the stars, and felt something he had not felt in 7 years. Purpose. He did not know their names. He did not know their story. He did not know what troubles had brought them crashing into his field in the middle of the night. But he knew one thing with perfect certainty. He would not let anything hurt them. The sun rose over Park Tejo's farm. The broken ship sat in his field, slowly sinking into the mud. And inside his house, 3 alien children slept peacefully, for the first time, in a very long while. They had been running from something terrible. They did not know it yet, but they had finally found a place to stop. The children woke slowly over the next 3 days. The boy woke second. His arm was broken, and he cried out in pain when he tried to move. Tejo rushed to his side and gently pushed him back down. The boy looked at him with huge, dark eyes full of terror. He said something fast and desperate in that strange, flowing language. Tejo did not understand a word. He held up his hands, showing they were empty. He spoke softly, the way one speaks to a frightened animal. "It's okay. You're safe. I won't hurt you." The boy did not understand either. But something in Tejo's voice, in his face, made the boy stop struggling. He lay back and watched Tejo with careful eyes. The oldest girl woke again that afternoon. This time she stayed awake. She immediately checked on her siblings, touching their faces, speaking to them in whispers. When she saw the boy was awake too, she nearly cried with relief. The smallest one, another girl, did not wake until the 3rd day. She was very young, maybe 6 years old. When her eyes opened, she saw Tejo's face above her and screamed. Her older sister ran to her. She held her tight and spoke fast, calming words. The little girl buried her face in her sister's chest and sobbed. Tejo stepped back. He understood. He was a stranger. A strange creature from a strange world. Of course she was scared. He left them alone and went to the kitchen. He made soup. Simple vegetable soup. The kind Yuna used to make when he was sick. He did not know if they could eat human food. He did not know if the vegetables would help them or hurt them. But he had to try something. He brought the soup on a tray. He set it down far from them and stepped back. The oldest girl watched him with suspicious eyes. He pointed at the soup, then at his mouth, then at them. She understood. She was smart. She tasted the soup first. just a tiny bit. She waited. Nothing bad happened. She tasted more. Then she nodded to her siblings. They ate like they had not eaten in days. Maybe they had not. Tejo watched them eat and felt something warm in his chest. It was a feeling he had almost forgotten. The feeling of being needed. Communication was the hardest part. Tejo remembered that Yuna had kept an old translation device from her workdays. She had been a trade negotiator once, before they married and moved to the farm. She had traveled to other worlds and talked with beings from distant stars. He found the device in a box in the closet. It was old and dusty, but when he turned it on, it still worked. The oldest girl spoke into it. The device hummed and clicked. Then, words came out in Korean. Broken and strange, but understandable. Who? You. Where? This place. Tejo spoke back. The device translated for him. My name is Park Tejo. This is my farm. You crashed here. I found you. The girl listened to the translation. Her eyes went wide. You help us? Why? Tejo did not know how to answer that question. Why did he help them? They were strangers. Aliens. Nothing to him. Because you needed help, he said finally. The girl stared at him for a long time. Then she said something to her siblings. They all looked at Tejo with the same expression. Confusion. Wonder. Like he had done something impossible. Over the next few weeks, Tejo learned about them. The oldest girl was called Lyra. She was serious and protective, and always watching. She spoke the best galactic standard, the common language of space. So the translation device worked best with her. The boy was called Darren. He was curious about everything. He followed Tejo around the farm, watching him work, asking questions through the translation device. Why do plants grow? What are chickens? Why is the sky blue on this world? The youngest was called Suli. She was shy and scared, and rarely left her sister's side. But sometimes, when she thought no one was looking, she would watch Tejo with curious eyes. They were Velorai. Tejo had heard of their kind, refugees. Their homeworld had been destroyed decades ago, burned by war or disaster. He could not remember which. The survivors had scattered across the galaxy, looking for new homes. Most had found only hardship. When Tejo asked why they had crashed, Lyra's face went dark. Bad people, she said through the device. Following us. What bad people? Cannot say. Not safe. He did not push. They were children. They had been through enough. Days turned into weeks. The broken ship still sat in his field. But Tejo covered it with old tarps and hay so it could not be seen from the sky. He told no one in the village about his guests. When neighbors visited, the children hid in the back rooms. It was not a perfect system, but it worked. Tejo began teaching them Korean words, real words, not the broken translations from the device. This is rice, he would say, holding up a bowl. Rice, Suli would repeat, her accent strange but clear. This is water. Water. Darren learned fast. He wanted to know every word for everything. He followed Tejo into the fields and learned the names of vegetables and tools and animals. He helped carry things, even with his arm still healing. You work hard, Tejo told him one day. Darren did not understand all the words, but he understood the meaning. He smiled, the first real smile Tejo had seen from any of them. One evening, Lyra found Tejo sitting on the porch, looking at the stars. She sat down beside him, keeping a careful distance. Why you help? She asked, her Korean still rough but improving. Tejo thought about the question. He thought about Yuna, about the children they never had, about the empty house and the silent rooms and the years of loneliness. Everyone is something to someone, he said. You are children. Children should be safe. That's enough reason. Lyra was quiet for a long time. On my world, she said slowly. People do not help strangers. They are afraid. They think only of themselves. Maybe that's why your world had problems. She looked at him sharply. Then, slowly, she nodded. Maybe, she said. Humans are strange. Yes, Tejo agreed. They sat together in the darkness, watching the stars wheel overhead. Somewhere up there, bad people were looking for these children. Somewhere up there, danger waited. But here, on this small farm, on this small planet, 3 children were safe for one more night. Tejo looked at the sky and made a silent promise. Whatever came next, he would be ready. Tejo noticed the ship on a Tuesday morning. He was feeding the chickens when he looked up at the sky, as he always did now, checking for danger. And there it was, high above the valley, barely visible against the clouds. A dark shape, not moving, just watching. His blood went cold. He walked back to the house slowly, trying not to look suspicious. Inside, the children were eating breakfast. Darren was trying to use chopsticks. Suli was laughing at his failures. For a moment, they looked like any normal family. Tejo closed the door and locked it. Lyra, he said quietly. Come with me. She saw his face and understood immediately. She followed him to the back room, away from the younger ones. There is a ship, Tejo said. In the sky. Watching. Lyra's face went pale, even paler than usual. How long? I do not know. Maybe days. I only saw it now. She sat down heavily on a chair. Her hands were shaking. They found us, she whispered. I thought we had more time. Tejo knelt in front of her. Lyra, I need you to tell me the truth now. All of it. Who is following you? Why? For a long moment, she said nothing. She stared at the floor, her large, dark eyes filled with fear and memory. Then she began to talk. Her mother had been a scientist, a brilliant one. She had studied Velari biology, trying to understand why her people were dying out. After their homeworld was destroyed, the Velari had scattered. But something was wrong. Each generation was weaker than the last. Their children were sick. Their numbers were falling. Lyra's mother had discovered why. The Velari carried something special in their bodies. A genetic code, hidden deep in their cells. This code was the key to incredible medical advances. Healing. Long life. Maybe even bringing the dead back to life. It was worth more than planets. More than stars. A powerful corporation called Helix Industries had learned about this discovery. They wanted it. Not to help the Velari. Not to share with the galaxy. Just to own. To profit. They had taken Lyra's mother. They had tried to take her children too. But her mother had been smart. She had hidden the children on a small ship and programmed it to fly to Earth. Earth was special. Earth had laws that protected refugees. Earth did not allow corporations to own people. She said Earth was safe. Lyra said, tears running down her blue cheeks. She said humans would help us. She said to find good people and trust them. Your mother, Tejo asked gently. Is she? I do not know. Lyra's voice broke. She stayed behind, to give us time to escape. Tejo felt his heart crack. He knew that pain. The pain of not knowing. The pain of hoping and fearing at the same time. He put his hand on her shoulder. You found good people, he said. You found me. I will not let them take you. Lyra looked up at him. In her eyes, he saw something shift. The careful distance she had kept began to crack. Why? She asked. You do not know us. We bring danger to your home. Why do you care? Tejo thought about Yuna. About the children they never had. About the empty rooms filled with ghosts of dreams. Because someone should, he said. Because you are scared and alone and far from home. Because I remember what it is like to lose everything. He paused. Because you are children, and children deserve to be protected. Lyra stared at him. Then she did something she had never done before. She leaned forward and hugged him. It was awkward and brief, but it was real. Tejo went to work. His grandfather had built a bunker under the barn many years ago, during ancient wars. It was old and dusty but still strong. Tejo cleaned it out. He brought down blankets and food and water. He made it safe. He taught the children to hide there. He taught them the signal. 3 knocks, then 2, then 1. If they heard anything else, they were to stay hidden and stay silent. This is serious, he told them. This is not a game. If bad people come, you hide. You do not come out until I tell you. Understand? They understood. Darren helped him carry supplies. The boy was stronger now. His arm healed. He worked without complaint. You are brave, Tejo told him. Darren shook his head. I am scared. Brave people are always scared. That is what makes them brave. Darren thought about this. Humans are strange, he said, echoing his sister. Yes, Tejo agreed again. We are. That night, after the children were asleep, Tejo sat alone on his porch. The ship was still there, high in the sky, watching, waiting. He thought about what he was doing. He was a farmer, an old man, living alone. What could he do against a corporation that spanned the stars? But then he thought about Lyra's face when she talked about her mother. He thought about Darren's smile when he learned a new word. He thought about Suli, who had started to look at him without fear. He thought about Yuna, and what she would say if she could see him now. She would tell him to fight. She had always been the brave one. The one who believed in doing the right thing. Even when it was hard. Even when it was dangerous. She had believed that goodness mattered. That kindness was not weakness. He wished she was here. But she was not. So, he would have to be brave enough for both of them. The ship in the sky did not move. It just watched and waited, like a predator studying its prey. But Tejo was not prey. He was a farmer, and farmers knew how to protect their land. He went inside and checked on the children one last time. They were sleeping peacefully. 3 small shapes in beds that had been empty for so long. Tomorrow, the danger would still be there. Tomorrow, he would have to keep pretending, keep hiding, keep fighting. But tonight, his house was full. Tonight, he was not alone. That was enough. For now, that was enough. The strangers arrived on a market day. Tejo heard about them before he saw them. Old man Guan, his neighbor, came to the farm with news. His face was worried. Strangers in town, Guan said, sitting on Tejo's porch and drinking tea. What kind of questions? About children. Alien children. Refugees. Guan watched Tejo's face carefully. They say these children are dangerous. They say they carry a disease. They are offering money for information. Tejo kept his face calm. He had practiced this. That sounds bad, he said. I hope they find what they are looking for. Guan did not look away. He was old, but he was not stupid. You live alone out here, he said slowly, far from everyone. Tejo's heart beat faster, but his voice stayed steady. I have nothing to hide. Just vegetables and chickens. Guan kept staring at him. Then, slowly, he nodded. Of course, he said. Just vegetables and chickens. He finished his tea and stood up. These strangers, he said at the door. They do not look like good people to me. Their eyes are cold. They smile, but their smiles are empty. He paused. If I knew someone who was hiding something, I would tell them to be very careful. Then he left. Tejo sat on his porch for a long time, thinking. Guan knew. Or at least, he suspected. But he had not said anything to the strangers. That meant something. Not everyone was an enemy. Some people still believed in doing the right thing. The strangers came to his farm 3 days later. There were 2 of them. a man and a woman. Both human. Both wearing expensive clothes that did not fit in a farming village. They smiled too much. Their eyes moved too fast, looking at everything, missing nothing. "Good morning," the man said. His voice was smooth like oil. "Are you Park Tae-ho?" "I am. We are representatives of Helix Industries. We are looking for 3 children. Alien children. Velarai. They may have crashed near here several weeks ago. Felix is all IF and Don. We are representatives of Helix ago." Tae-ho scratched his head, playing the confused farmer. "Crashed? I did not see any crash. I heard some loud noise during the storm a while back, but I thought it was thunder." The woman stepped forward. "May we search your property? Just to be sure?" Every part of Tae-ho wanted to say no, but refusing would look suspicious. "Of course," he said. "I have nothing to hide." He led them around the farm. They looked in the house. They looked in the barn. They looked in the fields. The children were in the bunker, hidden deep under the earth, silent and still. The strangers found nothing, but the woman paused near the barn. She looked at the ground. She looked at the hay covering the crashed ship in the field behind. "What is under that hay?" she asked. "Old equipment," Tae-ho said. "Broken tractor. I have been meaning to sell it for scrap." She stared at him. Her eyes were cold, just like Guan had said. Cold and empty and calculating. "I see," she said finally. They searched for another hour. They found nothing. The bunker door was hidden under an old rug and a pile of feed bags. They did not think to move them. Finally, they gave up. "Thank you for your cooperation," the man said, still smiling that empty smile. "If you see anything unusual, please contact us. There is a reward for information." "How much?" Tae-ho asked, playing his role. "Enough to buy a new tractor." Tae-ho pretended to think about it. "I will keep my eyes open." The strangers left. Tae-ho watched their vehicle disappear down the road. Then he waited another hour, just to be safe. Finally, he went to the bunker. 3 knocks, then 2, then 1. The door opened. 3 pale faces looked up at him, full of fear. "They are gone," he said. "You are safe." Suli burst into tears. She ran to Tae-ho and grabbed his leg and would not let go. He picked her up and held her, and she buried her face in his shoulder. Lyra was shaking. Darren looked sick. "They were here," Lyra whispered. "We heard their footsteps. We heard them talking." "I know, but they did not find you. They will not find you." That night, Suli could not sleep. Tae-ho sat beside her bed. She was sweating and crying, lost in nightmares. He did not know what to do. He was not good with children. He had never had the chance to learn. But he remembered what Yuna used to do when he could not sleep. He started to sing. It was an old song. A Korean lullaby about the moon and the stars and a rabbit who lived in the sky. Yuna used to sing it to him when he was worried. Her voice had been beautiful. His voice was rough and old. But Suli stopped crying. She looked at him with her big dark eyes. She did not understand the words, but she understood the feeling. Safety, comfort, love. She reached out and took his hand. "Stay," she said. It was one of the few Korean words she knew. "I will stay," he said. "I am not going anywhere." She fell asleep holding his hand. He sat there all night, watching her breathe. In the doorway, Lyra watched them. Her face was soft, in a way Tae-ho had never seen before. She did not say anything. But when she went to bed, she was smiling. The strangers had come. The strangers had searched. The strangers had found nothing. But they would be back. Tae-ho knew this. They were not the kind of people who gave up easily. He looked at the 3 children sleeping in his home. Children who trusted him. Children who depended on him. He had made a promise. He intended to keep it. Weeks passed. The strangers searched elsewhere. The ship in the sky disappeared. Life returned to something like normal. But normal was different now. Tejo woke each morning to the sound of voices. Children's voices. Arguing over breakfast. Laughing at nothing. Calling his name. Tejo. Tejo. Darren ate my rice cake. I did not. She is lying. He had forgotten what noise sounded like. He had forgotten what life sounded like. For 7 years, his mornings had been silent. Now, they were loud and messy and wonderful. He taught them about Earth. In the evenings, after farm work was done, they would sit together, and he would tell them stories. Stories about human history, about wars and peace, about great discoveries and terrible mistakes, about how humans had almost destroyed themselves many times but always found a way to survive. Darren was fascinated. Your species almost died many times, he said one night. You fought each other. You poisoned your own planet. You made weapons that could kill millions. He paused. How are you still here? Tejo thought about the question. Because enough people chose to protect what mattered, he said finally. Every time we came close to the end, someone stood up. Someone said no. Someone decided that life was worth saving. He looked at the 3 children. Humans are good at surviving, but we are also good at caring. Even when it is hard, even when it hurts. Lyra was quiet. She was always quiet during these talks. But she listened to every word. On the ship, she said slowly. The other refugees used to talk about humans. They said your species was young, primitive, emotional. They said you would not last long in the galaxy. Maybe they are right, Tejo said. Or maybe they do not understand us yet. The children learned Korean faster than Tejo expected. Suli was the fastest. Within a month, she could hold simple conversations. Within 2 months, she was correcting her siblings' grammar. You say it wrong, she told Darren one day. It is not, I am go. Darren rolled his eyes. Teacher's pet. I am not a pet. I do not know what a pet is. They fought like siblings, real siblings. The sound filled Tejo's heart. One morning, while Tejo was cooking breakfast, Suli came into the kitchen. She stood beside him, watching him work. Tejo, she said. Yes? She was quiet for a moment. Then, she looked up at him with her big, dark eyes. Can I call you something else? His hand stopped moving. What do you mean? Lyra says we should not. She says it is not proper. But I want to. Please? What do you want to call me? She took a deep breath. Appa. The word hit Tejo like a stone. Appa. The Korean word for father. For dad. He stood there, frozen, unable to speak. His throat was tight. His eyes were burning. Suli's face fell. I am sorry. I should not have asked. Lyra was right. It was stupid. I will. No. He knelt down so he was at her level. He looked into her eyes. You can call me that, he said, his voice rough. Her face lit up like the sun. Really, really. She threw her arms around his neck. He held her tight. And for the first time in 7 years, Park Tejo cried. That afternoon, he made a decision. He went into town and found a communication booth. He called a number he had not called in years. A woman's face appeared on the screen. She was older now, with gray in her hair, but her eyes were the same. Sharp, kind, determined. Tejo. She sounded shocked. Is that you? Hello, Hyeri. Kim Hyeri had been Yuna's best friend. They had worked together as trade negotiators before Yuna quit to become a farmer's wife. Hyeri had never quit. She had become a lawyer instead. A very good one. She specialized in galactic refugee law. I need your help, Tejo said. He told her everything. The crash, the children, the corporation, the search. Hyeri listened without interrupting. When he finished, her face was serious. "You know what you have done, right?" She said. "You have hidden refugees from a galactic corporation. You have broken at least a dozen laws. Ride. Ride. You have ride wide. Ride. I know. They will not stop looking. Helix Industries has more money than most governments. They have lawyers and soldiers and spies. I know. Why are you doing this, Tejo? These are not your children. You owe them nothing." He thought about Suli's face when she asked to call him Appa. He thought about Darren's smile when he learned something new. He thought about Lyra, slowly letting down her walls. "They are my children now," he said. "That is all that matters." Hyeri stared at him for a long moment. Then she smiled. "Yuna always said you were a good man." She was right. She leaned forward. "Okay. I will help you. But you need to understand what you are facing." She explained the situation. Helix Industries had filed a claim. They called it biological asset recovery. Under galactic law, they were arguing that the children were not people. They were property, resources, things to be owned. "That is insane," Tejo said. "It is how the galaxy works. But Earth is different. Earth law does not recognize such claims. Earth treats all sentient beings as people, not property. So the children are safe? On Earth, yes. But Helix will challenge this. They will take it to the galactic courts. They will try to force Earth to hand them over." She paused. "This will become a legal battle, a political battle. Are you ready for that?" Tejo thought about it. He was a farmer. He did not know about law or politics. He did not know how to fight corporations, but he knew how to protect his family. "Yes," he said. "I am ready." Hyeri nodded. "Then, let us get to work." That night, Tejo told the children what was happening. "There will be a fight," he said. "A long fight. People will try to take you away. But I will not let them. Hyeri will not let them. Earth will not let them." Darren looked scared. "What if they win?" "They will not win." "But what if—" Tejo put his hand on Darren's shoulder. "Listen to me," he said. "I made a promise. I do not break my promises. No matter what happens, I will protect you. All of you. You are my family now. And humans fight for their families." Darren looked at him. Slowly, the fear in his eyes began to fade. "Family," he repeated. "Yes." Darren nodded. Then, quietly, he said, "Dad." Tejo's heart cracked open a little more. The storm was coming. But for the first time, he was not facing it alone. He had a family. And that made all the difference. The corporation came back with lawyers instead of soldiers. At first, it was just paperwork. Legal documents. Demands. Threats wrapped in formal language. Hyeri handled most of it. But some letters came directly to the farm. Then, the news reporters arrived. Someone had leaked the story. A human farmer, hiding alien children from a galactic corporation. It was exactly the kind of story people loved. Within days, Tejo's quiet farm was surrounded by cameras. He hated it. He was not a man who liked attention. He did not want to be famous. He wanted to grow vegetables and raise chickens and take care of his children in peace. But peace was not an option anymore. The children were terrified. They hid inside the house while reporters shouted questions through the windows. Suli cried every night. Darren stopped eating. Lyra walked around with her fists clenched, ready to fight shadows. "I am sorry," Tejo told them. "I did not want this." Lyra shook her head. "It is not your fault. This is what they do. They use everything as a weapon." Earth's government got involved. Representatives came to the farm. Officials in expensive suits with serious faces. They asked questions. They took notes. They talked about jurisdiction and precedent and political consequences. "You understand," one official said. that this case has implications beyond your family. If we protect these children, we are challenging the entire galactic corporate system. I understand, Tejo said. There will be economic pressure, trade restrictions, political consequences. I understand. The official looked at him for a long moment. Why do you care so much? They are not even human. Tejo felt anger rise in his chest. He pushed it down. They are children, he said. That is all that matters. The official did not seem to understand, but he wrote something in his notes and left. The Galactic Tribunal was announced a month later. It would be held virtually, with representatives from Earth, Helix Industries, and the Galactic Trade Council. The question was simple. Were the children people or property? Tejo was permitted to speak. He did not sleep the night before. He sat on his porch, looking at the stars, thinking about what to say. Hyeri had prepared a speech for him. Legal arguments, facts, and figures, precedents and principles. He threw it away. When his children were threatened, Park Tejo did not need a script. The tribunal convened at noon. Faces appeared on screens around the world. Alien judges with strange features. Corporate lawyers with cold smiles. Earth's representatives with worried eyes. And in a small farmhouse in Korea, a farmer sat in front of a camera with 3 children behind him. Helix Industries spoke first. Their lawyer was smooth and confident. He talked about genetics and biology and property rights. He talked about contracts and investments and legal frameworks. He called the children assets and resources and biological material. He never once called them by their names. Then it was Tejo's turn. He stood up. He was wearing his best clothes, but they were still farmer's clothes, old and worn and practical. He looked out at the screens, at all the faces watching him. His heart was pounding. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. You call them assets, he began. I call them Lyra, Darren, and Suli. The room went quiet. Lyra worries about her siblings so much that she forgets to eat. She stays awake at night, checking that they are breathing. She is 14 years old, and she has been carrying the weight of a mother ever since her real mother was taken from her. He paused. Darren asks me every night to explain how plants grow. He thinks it is magic. He follows me around the farm, learning the names of everything, wanting to understand this strange world he crashed into. He is curious and brave, and he calls me Dad now. His voice cracked. Suli is afraid of thunder, but she is also brave enough to hold her sister's hand through the storm. She laughs at small things. She cries, easily. She asked me if she could call me Appa, and when I said yes, she looked at me like I had given her the whole world. He looked directly into the camera. You can cite your laws. You can talk about your property codes, and your genetic research, and your corporate investments. But I have watched these children laugh, and cry, and hope. I have held them when they had nightmares about the people chasing them. About you. His voice grew harder. On Earth, we have a word for what you are doing. We call it evil. Taking children from their families. Treating people like things. Hunting them across the stars because they have something you want. He stepped closer to the camera. Here is what humans do with evil. We fight it. Every single time. Even when we lose. Even when it costs us everything. We have been fighting evil since before we knew the stars existed. We are very good at it. He stood straight and tall, an old farmer facing the weight of empires. So file your claims. Send your lawyers. Bring your threats. But understand this. You are not taking my children. Not today. Not ever. Because I am a human being, and we do not abandon our families. He sat down. The silence stretched on forever. Then, somewhere on Earth, someone started clapping. Then, another person. Then, another. Across the planet, people who had been watching began to cheer. The aliens in the tribunal looked confused. They did not understand what was happening, but the humans understood. One of them had stood up. One of them had said no. And the rest of them were remembering what it meant to be human. The tribunal adjourned without a verdict. They would announce their decision in 24 hours. That night, Tejo sat on the porch alone. He was exhausted, drained. He did not know if his words had made any difference. Footsteps behind him. Darren came and sat beside him. "Are you scared?" the boy asked, terrified. "Me too." Darren was quiet for a moment. "But I am glad we are scared together." Tejo looked at him. "Me too," he said. Darren leaned against his shoulder. "Whatever happens tomorrow," he said. "Thank you for everything." Tejo put his arm around his son. "Whatever happens tomorrow," he replied. "We face it as a family." They sat together in the darkness, waiting for dawn, waiting for the verdict, waiting for the future. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The verdict came at noon. The tribunal ruled in favor of Helix Industries. Tejo felt his heart stop. Beside him, Lyra made a sound like a wounded animal. Suli started crying. Darren grabbed Tejo's arm and would not let go. But the judges were not finished. However, the head judge continued, "We acknowledge that Earth operates under its own legal framework. If Earth chooses to grant asylum under its domestic laws, this tribunal has no authority to override that decision." The words hung in the air. Earth's representative stood up. She was a small woman with gray hair and fierce eyes. She spoke clearly, her voice carrying across the world. Earth formally grants citizenship and political asylum to Lyra, Darren, and Suli. They are now legally protected persons under our laws. Any attempt to remove them will be considered an act of aggression against Earth itself. The corporation's lawyer turned red with anger. "This is unacceptable. You cannot simply ignore galactic law." The Earth representative did not even look at him. "We are not ignoring anything. We are choosing our values over your profits. That is something humans have done many times before." She paused. "If Helix Industries wishes to challenge this decision, they are welcome to try. But I warn you, Earth has faced worse than corporate threats. We do not bend easily." The tribunal ended. For a long moment, no one in the farmhouse moved. Then Suli looked up at Tejo with wide eyes. "Does this mean we can stay?" Tejo picked her up and held her tight. "Yes," he said, his voice breaking. "You can stay. You are home." The aftermath was chaos. Helix Industries threatened economic punishment. They promised trade restrictions and political pressure. They said Earth would regret this decision. Earth's response was simple: "Try us." Other species began to speak up. Refugees who had suffered under corporate exploitation. Planets that had been bullied into silence. One human standing up had given them courage. The pressure on Helix Industries grew. Not enough to destroy them, but enough to make them pause. Enough to make them look elsewhere. The ships in the sky disappeared. The strangers stopped coming to the village. The reporters packed up and left. Life returned to normal. But normal was different now. The paperwork took months, but finally it was done. Park Tejo officially adopted 3 alien children. They became his in the eyes of every law that mattered. On the day the adoption was finalized, Hyeri came to the farm with the documents. She watched Tejo sign each page, watched the children crowd around him, watched the family celebrate. "Yuna would be proud," she said quietly. Tejo looked at the photograph of his wife that hung on the wall. She was smiling, as always. "I hope so," he said. A year passed. The village held its autumn festival. Streets filled with music and food and laughter. Families walked together, enjoying the celebration. Among them was Park Tejo. He walked through the market with Suli on his shoulders. She pointed at everything, asking questions, wanting to try every food. Beside him, Darren examined each stall with serious attention, taking notes about Earth crops and traditions. Behind them, Lyra pretended to be too mature for such childish excitement. but she was smiling. An alien merchant stared at them as they passed. He was tall and green-skinned, with too many eyes. "You are the human from the tribunal," he said. "The one who stood against Helix Industries." Tejo shrugged. "I am just a farmer." The merchant looked at the children, then back at Tejo. His many eyes blinked in confusion. "Your species," he said slowly. Tejo watched his children. Sully was trading festival treats with a local boy, teaching him Velarai words. Darren was explaining earth vegetables to a confused vendor. Lyra was helping old man Guan carry his purchases, laughing at his jokes. "Maybe not," Tejo said quietly, "but we are exactly what we need to be." The merchant shook his head and walked away, still confused. Humans were strange. Everyone in the galaxy agreed on that. But maybe strange was not a bad thing. Evening came. The festival ended. Families went home. Tejo walked back to the farm, with his children around him. Sully was tired. She had eaten too many sweets and run too much. She reached up with both hands. "Appa," she said. "Carry me?" He lifted her onto his back. She wrapped her arms around his neck and rested her head on his shoulder. "Appa," Darren said, walking beside him. "Can we do this again next year?" "Every year," Tejo promised. Lyra walked on his other side. She did not say anything, but she reached out and took his hand. They walked together through the darkening fields. Stars began to appear in the sky. The same stars that had brought these children crashing into his life. Tejo thought about the night of the storm. The night he had found a broken ship and 3 dying children. The night everything had changed. He had not understood what was happening. He had not known why these strangers had come to his farm, why they had called out for help, why they had looked at him with such hope. He understood now. He had thought he was rescuing them. He had thought he was saving 3 lost children from a cruel galaxy, but that was not true. They had saved him. For 7 years, he had been dead inside, grieving, alone, living in a house full of ghosts. He had buried his heart with his wife and forgotten what it meant to love. Then 3 children crashed into his field and shouted, "Dad," in a language he did not understand. And slowly, painfully, wonderfully, they had brought him back to life. They had given him a reason to wake up in the morning, a reason to fight, a reason to hope. They had given him a family. The farmhouse appeared ahead, warm lights glowing in the windows. "Home, Appa," Sully murmured sleepily against his back. "I love you." Tejo's eyes burned. "I love you too," he said. "All of you. Forever." Lyra squeezed his hand. Darren moved closer, pressing against his side. They reached the door. Tejo stopped and looked back at the stars one last time. Somewhere out there, the galaxy continued. Corporations schemed. Ships flew. People suffered and struggled and hoped. But here, on this small farm on this small planet, 1 human and 3 alien children had found something rare and precious. They had found each other. They had found home. And that, in the end, was everything. Park Tejo opened the door and led his family inside. The lights were warm. The rooms were full. The silence was gone, forever. He finally understood what had happened that stormy night. He had not just found 3 children, he had found his heart again, and he would never lose it.